Is that one of the friends you talk to all the time?
I don't talk to him a lot, but occasionally we go through like a week or two of talking a lot, and then we drift apart for a couple months. And then
How do you spell his last name?
So even the friend of the person she lent the money to is somebody she doesn't talk to all the time? And the detective, oh yeah? How do you spell his last name? No kidding.
Montemeo?
Montemeo, I forget.
Okay. What's his phone number?
647-618.
647 start. Is that the Andrew you were talking to the night before you talked to the other gentleman?
Before Edward?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So now, Rick, you met him where at Agent Court, and what?
It was Kennedy and Shepherd.
Kennedy and Shepherd, and what type of place did you meet him at? Like,
I met him. We went for coffee.
yeah.
Then we walked around, and then we went to the library because Andrew wanted to meet me and see the place because we hadn't seen each other in a while.
Okay. See what place?
See my house. So I come visit me.
Okay. And so you came back to your house?
No, so I gave Rick the address so that he can go home and give it to Andrew. And I showed him how to commute because he doesn't drive. So I showed him how to commute for cancer.
So you took Rick up to your place?
No.
You just told him where it was? And he was to tell Andrew?
Yes.
Who then could come and visit you sometime?
Yes.
And so what was the building that you met for coffee at? What was the coffee shop?
Tim Hortons.
Okay, and where was the location?
Kennedy and Shepherd.
And when was that?
I can't help but smile and nod here. There's a change here in the detective's baseline. He uses the word location instead of his usual cool, okay, oh yeah, where was that? And he asks the question quickly. It's like when Watson picks up a scent. It's very exciting, and he's gonna follow that trail.
I'm not sure. Spring, summer? I don't remember exactly.
Okay. This year? Okay. Second time you met him?
That was the second time I met him.
Where did you meet him the first time?
I told you near my piano school.
Okay, sorry. And where, though, specifically?
Shepherd and Lima.
And where, at another coffee shop, or what was it?
No, I just finished piano. We introduced each other, and then I had to go home.
Okay. Who else was there?
Nobody.
Okay. And how did he know to come see you there?
We were on the phone with Andrew, and Andrew was like, yeah.
And where was Andrew at the time?
He was in his cloud, I believe.
Okay. And so, the first time you met him, what did you talk about?
No, just hello, I'm Andrew's roommate. How are you?
This is off. Yes, she did say he was Andrew's roommate, but she also met him at piano. So, hello, I'm Andrew's roommate would be weird if they'd already met and she already knew this.
Okay, so he was living with Andrew at the time.
Yeah.
Are they still living together?
I don't think so.
Okay. And where were they staying?
I'm not sure, somewhere in Mississauga.
Okay. Why didn't Andrew just meet you?
He was in the process of doing insurance stuff.
Okay.
Like, I think he was doing classes or seminars or something.
Yeah.
But he wasn't able to come out to Toronto.
This is so off. And her buddy is learning about insurance, eh?
And what race is Andrew?
Filipino.
Filipino. Okay.
Filipino, and he's allowed to go to her house and hang out. But Daniel's not allowed because he's Filipino. This is according to Jennifer.
This Rick guy, him and Andrew lived together for how long?
I'm not sure. He just said he was a really good friend.
Okay.
And they lived together.
And so, what was the time that you met him first then? When was that?
Maybe just a week before I met him the second time.
What did you discuss then?
Nothing. It was just who he was, and
Yeah.
and then I had to go.
Okay, and so the next time you met him, how come you met him the second time?
Because after that, Andrew was like, yeah, we're having problems with rent. And
Okay, so they wanted money.
my aunt and Andrew wanted to see if I could lend him some money
Okay.
to help with rent.
And so you did, and you gave the money to who?
Rick.
Okay, that day at Tim Hortons. And what else did you discuss that day?
Just what he liked doing. Like he said, he liked Japanese manga books. And
Japanese.
manga books, or like comic books or
Okay,
something.
yeah, that's his hobby.
Yeah.
What else?
Like I asked him if he was working. He's like, no, I'm looking for a job, and
Okay.
I just like bought my piano stuff, and that was about it.
Okay. What is it that Andrew actually does?
He's doing some sort of like selling life insurance, I believe. I'm not 100%.
What's the company he's with? Are you trying to sell you a policy yet, or?
No.
Usually they go after their friends first.
Yeah, but I told him right off the bat, I'm like, I'm okay.
I'm not buying any. Okay, so you gave him $1,100. Where did you get the $1,100?
I have a lot saved up from when I was serving.
Okay.
Cash.
Okay, so how much do you have saved up?
Like now, or?
Yeah.
Well, I had about just a little under 1,000 saved up recently.
Okay. All right. So right now, how much do you have? 1,000, you're saying?
Well, now I don't have any, right?
Okay.
You took it all.
Okay. Before Andrew took the money, how much did you have?
3,000.
2,000? Okay. You gave him 1,100. Has he paid that back yet?
I talked to him recently. He said he's working on it. He's just working at HomeSense right now. And he just moved back home, so that should decrease his rent. So he said he's working on that.
Which HomeSense?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And where does he actually live?
With his parents, I believe.
Which is, you don't know? Okay. This Rick fella, what about him? Where does he live?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him for a long time. 6 months now. We're just more of an acquaintance. Yeah.
Okay. So after you gave him the money, did he give you a receipt or anything? No. Okay. What was his promise to you about how he would pay you back?
Well, Andrew said that he'd pay me back when he could.
Okay. You didn't give any timelines?
No.
No. Okay. And after you talked or saw Rick, have you seen him since that day you gave him the money? Okay. Have you talked to him since?
Maybe a week after, but no.
Okay. And what did you talk a week after?
No, just asked him how he was, if the rent was okay, and
Yeah.
what he was doing. He was like just watching some of his friends' kids or something.
Okay. And where was their apartment?
Somewhere in Mississauga.
That's all you know.
That's all I know.
I guess they're not. Are you saying they're not there anymore?
Yeah, I know my Andrew's moved back home.
Okay. Do you know any other black guys?
Not that are very, very close with me, no.
Okay. Who would be that you aren't very close to you?
Well, Daniel's best friend is black.
Okay. And what's his name?
Carlos Finch.
Carlos Finch? Okay. And do you ever talk to him, or? How come you say they're best friends?
They went to elementary school together, and they grew up together, almost neighbors.
They still hang out?
I believe so.
When's the last time you saw Carlos?
Years.
Years?
Yeah.
Okay. Does Daniel still hang out with them then, or?
I believe so.
When's the last time they would have been, you've seen them together?
Oh, I've seen them together. Years.
Does Daniel ever talk about them?
Sometimes for birthdays and stuff.
Okay.
So like we went out for my birthday or his birthday or...
Carlos would be there?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when your last birthday was, did you go out with Carlos? Was Carlos there?
Oh, me? No.
No.
No, I meant like his birthday or Carlos's birthday.
Okay. When Daniel's birthday comes around, do you make a point of seeing him?
I try, but it doesn't always work out.
Don't these probing questions sound innocuous? Sometimes I get so used to this stuff that I know I'm perceiving it in a certain way because I've seen it so often. If you were in her shoes, would you perceive these questions as a continuation of the friendly conversation? Or would you sense these as probing? She seems pretty relaxed. The police are still trying to work out who all the players were in this crime.
So, a personal black friend, you don't have one, or you do?
No.
How about Filipino friends?
Edward's Filipino.
Okay.
He's a good friend of mine.
All right.
Andrew, like I said, we talk, but we're not really like close. We don't ever see each other.
Okay.
So I can never get out to see him.
Okay. What about white friends?
Adrian Tinkovitz, like I said, and Barry.
Okay. Are the two... Now, is Tinkovitz, is that
Ukrainian.
Ukrainian? European? Yes. Okay. Do you know where he's actually from? Or?
He's born here. His parents were born here too.
Oh, born here?
Yeah.
Oh, both.
I believe so.
Okay. But his grandparents from the Ukraine?
I believe so. He's very into the Ukrainian.
Yeah, culture. Obviously, we've spoken to a lot of people, right?
Okay.
One of your relatives said that you had mentioned that these guys liked you, that broke into the house. Why did you say that?
I didn't say that. I said that I asked them why, like when they separated my parents away from me, I asked them why couldn't I be with them. And they were just like, you cooperated, just keep cooperating.
Okay, so you're saying you made that comment to a relative that they liked you, though. Why? Is that what you meant, or what was?
I don't understand. I don't really understand.
Okay. Did you feel like they liked you?
No, they were. If you have a gun to your head, I don't think they like you very much.
Okay, but they didn't shoot you.
No.
Why did they not shoot you?
I don't know. When they took my parents away, I asked to go with them, and they're like, "Shut up."
But you must have thought of this. You must be thinking.
I still do, and I spoke to the therapist about it.
Okay. And what have you come up with in your mind? Why?
The only thing they could say was they kept saying that, I cooperated and to shut up and cooperate. Keep cooperating.
Did you feel like your parents didn't cooperate?
I don't know.
Okay. Is there something that they didn't cooperate with?
They were trying.
That's what I mean. So really they did cooperate. When you think about it. There was no money to be found.
No.
They told the truth. Dad said he had $60, right? So there wasn't anything that he wasn't cooperating with.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to say you were there. I'm just trying to get a feel for, did you think he wasn't cooperating?
No. I thought that everyone was cooperating. That's what they kept saying. No one will get hurt if you just cooperate.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where they didn't cooperate. Is there any time that you believe they didn't cooperate?
I wasn't with them the entire time. I was only with them for a short period of time.
Okay. But during that time that you were there, you were in the house, did you hear them not cooperating, I guess is the question.
I didn't hear anything. They just kept asking where everything was, but
Right. Did
my
your
mom
parents,
couldn't remember.
okay. Did your parents lie to them?
I don't know.
From anything you heard, did they tell a lie?
I don't know. All I know, I don't know how much my father had. I didn't know how much.
Okay. But they ultimately found your dad's wallet?
I'm not sure.
And your mom's purse?
They couldn't find it after the internet took me away.
Okay. But they never lied to them, I guess is what I'm getting down to, that you remember during any interaction you had.
I don't understand it, no.
No. Do you feel like they cooperated? Now, do you think there's any reason why they tied you up and didn't tie your parents up?
I don't know.
Does that seem odd to you? Why does it seem odd?
Because I was away, up here separated from them the whole time.
And does it make sense that they would leave a witness behind if they were going to kill somebody? Does that make sense?
I guess
Just thinking about it. Would it make sense for somebody that was going to kill somebody to leave a witness behind that could describe them? Does that make common sense for killers?
it's not.
What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was a mistake they made then?
I don't know. They kept saying that they were running out of time, and it just.
It doesn't take a long time to kill someone, or does it?
I know. I don't know.
No. Okay. When you say they kept saying, who kept saying?
Perpetrators.
Okay. Which ones though?
One of them, he kept telling me that it's taking too long.
How long did this thing last in your mind? I know you didn't have a watch on, or I guess you did have a watch on, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Did you look at the time at all? Did you look at the time on your cell phone at all? Just estimating how long it went on, how in your mind, because you were there, how long would you think it lasted?
I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is what people told me approximately.
Okay, which is about what?
They said it was only like half an hour to 45. I don't know.
Half an hour and 45. Now, I have your statement here, the first one that you gave, so I just want to go over some of the information there just to make sure that I understand it, okay? In the morning, your mom was going to visit your grandfather, and she went outside, and then there was a problem with a gas leak on the street. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. When she first went out, did you go out with her? No? Okay. When she was going, were you going to go with her originally?
No.
You never were going to go see your grandfather?
I'd seen her the day before, and she said to concentrate on my studies.
Okay. Just that you did go outside, so I was wondering.
She came back in and
She told you to come out. Okay. Because of what?
broccoli.
Okay. So she had gone out and then she came back to get you. And then you went out together?
I went in to change, and then we left.
Okay. So what did you change into then?
Don't remember.
Don't remember? Okay.
The description of that morning and the gas leak should not be stressful. Her stress is not about those events. It's about the fact that now she's going to be confronted with her original statement to police.
And then you went back out and they called the gas leak off. And you went back in and your mom went to see your grandfather. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Was anyone else at the house at that time? Yes, no? No. And then you went and onto the internet or did some studies and you played some games on Facebook. Is that correct? What games do you play on Facebook?
Restaurant City, Bongo, Mafia Wars.
What's the last one?
Mafia Wars.
Okay. And are you playing against somebody or by yourself?
Online community sort of thing.
Okay. And who's in that? Any of your friends?
So my friend Mark
Mark what?
Fong.
Mark Fong? Okay. So that morning were you playing against him?
You don't play against, like, you send each other gifts and you work on your own thing. And you help each other.
Okay. And so you were working on all three of those games or just one of them?
I don't know all of them, a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Okay. And when you go on, how do you get a hold of him to know? Do you have to phone him ahead of time and say, let's go online, or what do you do?
Like, you do your own thing, and then, you know, if you're online and the other person's online, you just message them, hey, can you send me this gift or that gift?
Okay. And so is that what you did that day? You were in communication with him?
I think, I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
Why is she whining when all he's asking about is Facebook games? Yeah, you know why.
Okay. Then you played some piano. How long would you play piano for?
Half an hour to an hour.
Okay. And what do you actually do? Are you practicing, or are you going over stuff you already know, or are you playing for pleasure, or are you playing for, do you know what I mean?
I practice doing my older pieces,
Okay.
and then I do a little bit of practical for my exam, and then I do a little bit for pleasure.
Okay. So it's a combination of everything. And you do that for about a half an hour.
An hour.
Okay, so you go through the day, and eventually your mom comes back around 3:30. Did she tell you how your grandfather was doing, or did you talk about that?
Yeah, just that, you know, he wasn't eating much.
Okay. And what's happened with your grandfather since?
He passed.
Okay, and when did that happen?
His day passed.
Wow, sorry to hear that. And were you guys close, or what was your relationship like with him?
He's quite old.
Yeah.
So he doesn't remember much.
Okay.
But I see him as much as I could.
Yeah. Okay. And that's your mother's father? Okay. And what about your grandma? Is she still around, or no? Okay. And he was in the nursing home, I understand. And when did he actually come to Canada? Do you know?
With my mom.
Okay, so years ago. He brought the family over.
We all refuged to Canada.
Pardon me?
We all refuged to Canada.
Okay. And does your mom have some brothers and sisters, or? Lots, okay. And did they all come over?
Most of them.
And do some of them live on your street, or is that your dad's side?
No, that's my mom's friend.
Okay. So how many, and that's who you're staying with now? Your aunt? Your mom's sister?
My mom's brother.
Brother, okay. And what's your aunt's name that you're staying with?
Do you see what he's doing? He's backed off a bit and he's talking about more benign things. I don't think she realizes yet what kind of roller coaster he's got her on. In addition to the impact on her psychologically, this allows investigators and potentially a jury to clearly see the pattern of when she shows stress and when she calms down.
Yuda.
Yuda?
Yuda.
Yuda?
Yuda.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so Adrian came over. Is that right? Okay. And anything, you watch some shows. Did you talk about anything? Like when you watch your shows, do you have talk about them after, or how's the evening going with him?
I just watch and then what's next, if there's a joke, we laugh.
Okay. And what were you watching that night?
All I remember is Gossip Girl, but I'm pretty sure there was another show that I don't remember which one.
And how many shows did you actually watch?
I'm not sure. Maybe 3, 4, 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are those shows a half hour or an hour long?
Some are an hour, some are half.
And so the whole time he was there, did you watch TV or did you have some conversation or?
Maybe TV conversation.
What's that? Just talked about.
TV conversation.
What else did you talk about though?
With TV.
That's it? Never talked about anything else? Okay. When you watch TV, do you eat?
I offered him, but
No, you'd already eaten.
we ate dinner. I ate dinner.
He didn't want anything? And from your place, how far away does he actually live?
15, 20.
Okay. And where about does he live?
Brimley and Fish.
Okay. And the address there? Now, do you ever do TV night at his place?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, what do your parents think of him?
They like him.
Why did they like him?
Because his mom and parents are good people.
And do the parents know each other?
They know of each other.
Okay. Like, do they go to the same church or anything like that, or same social events or anything? No? Okay. But they know they come from a good family. Okay. Now, you went up to, once he left, what did you do after he left?
Went to my room.
Okay, and what did you do?
Watched TV and was on the phone with Andrew.
And this is the same Andrew that you lent the money to? Okay. And what did you guys talk about?
How he's doing, girlfriend.
Okay. And how is he doing?
Like, he said that he's now working at home since he moved back home and put a straight on the relationship, but they work together.
She works at home since?
No, she works at the insurance company that he works for.
Okay. So has he got 2 jobs?
I guess. Like, I know the insurance thing is just whenever it is, so the other one's more.
And what else did he talk about?
Not much else, that's about it.
Okay. And did he phone you or did you phone him?
I don't remember.
What would the usual thing be?
Sometimes one of us contacts one, sometimes the other one contacts the other.
Okay. So you're verbally talking on the phone? Okay. And how long did that go on for?
Not long. I don't remember the call time.
About.
Maybe 15, 20. Maybe.
Okay. And then what happened?
I hung up. And then I called Ed.
Okay. So you did call Ed, and then what did you guys talk about?
Watching TV, how his birthday was.
Now, is this a routine for you to phone out in the evening to people, or? Okay. Do your parents mind you calling people, or what?
Always there.
Okay. So it's not just Daniel they don't want you talking to, it's they don't want you on the phone at all, or?
Yeah, not late night.
Not late nights, okay. But was that considered late, or what?
Yep.
What's late for them?
9, 10.
Okay. Because your dad actually goes to bed fairly early?
I think so. I don't remember when he actually.
No, in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he works early.
And yeah, what time do you get up in the morning usually?
5.
And your mom, do your mom and dad sleep in the same room or do they sleep apart?
Sometimes they sleep together, but lately she's been sleeping in my brother's room.
Okay. Which is?
Across the way.
Okay. All right. So the one across from your room. Okay. How long has she been doing that for?
2 years.
So it's more than lately then? Okay. So for 2 years she's been sleeping across the hall. Any particular reason or?
They just haven't been really getting along.
Okay. Now what's her normal turn-in time?
It depends. But normally like midnight.
Okay, so she stays up later than everybody. Or maybe you stay up late too, I don't know. What's your usual turn-in time?
Like turn in around 9.
Okay.
Turn in.
You go to your room, but how long do you usually stay up watching TV and trying to talk on the phone?
Sometimes till 2 in the morning.
Okay, so it can get obsessive. Okay. So is your dad a sound sleeper then?
Sometimes, yeah.
Because he's upstairs during those times, but your mom, does she, when she stays up to midnight, what does she do?
Watches Chinese television.
Okay.
Smokes her feet.
And where does she do that from?
Living room.
Okay. How does it make you feel that they don't get along very well? What does that do to you?
I like to be mediator.
Okay. And when you mediate, what do you got to do?
Find a common ground.
And what's kind of the common ground that you usually go to?
Get my life back in it.
So you try to be, if you can be good for them, it'll help them. Is that your position?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's their typical fights about?
My dad being loud and noisy and inconsiderate. My mom being naggy. My dad not doing enough housework and caring enough about the house as opposed to other people's houses.
Okay. What do you mean other people's houses?
Like, he has all these ideas for other people's houses that he doesn't think and do at our house, like decorating and upgrading and
Okay. But when he talks about his friends' houses, he has a lot of ideas. Okay. But he doesn't apply them to... Okay. And how does that make your mom feel then?
that he doesn't care about his house, the family.
How does that make you feel?
I know that that's just my dad.
How long has this been going on, the tension?
As long as I can remember.
It's always been there. Did your brother ever have to mediate? Okay.
That year when I moved out, well, not moved out, but the year I stayed away from home,
Yeah.
he took a lot of it.
And he was at home at the time?
It was his last year of high school.
Okay. And then when he left, you were on your own again. What do you and your brother discuss about that? How do you feel about it?
We divide and conquer. I try to go and comfort my mom, help my mom off with stuff, and he goes to my dad, calming him down and talking to him about one of his interests.
Okay. So separate them essentially. The arguments, what do they do during the arguments?
Yeah, bigger.
Okay. And when you hear the yelling, what does that do to you?
Tells me I need to go to where they are to help them calm down.
And how often do they actually get in one of these loud fights?
Every day.
Almost every day. Okay. And what was the last fight that they had?
My father came home late that day.
Okay. And they had an argument about that? And how did that go?
My mom just left for dance. My dad left first, and then he left after he came home from work, and then he called and my uncle left, and then by the time my dad got home and ate dinner, my mom had to leave.
So they didn't have the time to... But originally, there was a fight that night? Okay. And what did your mom say to your dad?
She said, "Where did you go until that time?" And she didn't believe that he just forgot to lock his something at work.
Did it sound unreasonable to you, or?
I don't know. If he forgot something at work, then he forgot something at work, but usually why she was yelling because he doesn't turn on his phone and he doesn't let us know. So
okay. She didn't think it was considerate, I guess, is what the argument really was about. Not so much that you were late, but you didn't call about it. Is that more? If I'm wrong, tell me, but I'm just...
I think so.
But he was, what, a half an hour late compared to usual?
40 minutes late.
40 minutes, okay. What did she think he was doing in those 40 minutes?
She never said.
Did she believe that his story or not?
She didn't really say.
Okay. Now, was she more upset that he was late or that he just didn't call?
He has a phone and he never uses it.
Okay. The supper, is it usually made for a certain time every night? Which is what time?
5:30.
So he'd have been home in time for that, though?
Yeah.
Okay. When you went up to your room to get ready for bed, what does that entail?
Just put on my room.
And what do you wear to bed?
Comfortable clothes.
Okay. Do you wear pajamas?
Sometimes, not all the time.
Okay. What would make you wear them, or what would make you not wear them?
Laundry, or how lazy I am, or how comfortable my regular clothes are.
Okay. Did you actually change your clothes that night?
I put on a sweater because it was cold.
Ooh, very different from changing clothes. But if you know there's about to be a home invasion, you don't get into your PJs now, do you?
Okay. Which was what?
Skating sweater, I believe.
Okay. And what did you have for bottoms?
It's like the black pants.
And so did you actually change in out of them, or how long had you had those on?
I don't remember. I don't remember.
When would have you put them on that day?
Maybe in the morning, like when my mom asked me to go with her.
Okay.
I think.
Are you going to climb into your clean bed wearing the clothes you wore all day? I mean, some people would, I guess. Maybe it's just me. I think it's kind of gross. And she seems well kept enough, not slovenly or dirty.
Underneath the skating shirt, what did you have on?
I don't think I had anything on underneath. I don't think.
So you had to take something off. That's what I'm just getting to. If you put that on, did you take anything off?
My bra.
Okay.
And maybe a tank top or.
She says my bra like it's a question. Some people will speak like that if they're not sure what the interviewer or the person asking the question is looking for. But she also says tank top or... So I'm not convinced she had those things on. Not conclusive, but questionable.
Because you obviously weren't walking around with just your bra all day. Is that fair?
I'm sorry, I just don't remember the details.
Take time.
I just don't remember. Probably it was a t-shirt or something.
Yeah, okay. And what you put on you remember that, okay. And then what happened?
From where?
You were essentially then on the phone.
Just watching TV and talking to Ed on the phone.
How did the conversation end with Ed?
I heard my mother calling for my father.
Okay. And then what?
I have to go through this again.
Okay. When you went to bed, was your mom home yet?
She'd just gotten home and I went down. I told Ed I'd be right back. And I went down, I said hi to her, and I went back up to my room.
Okay. So what time would have that been, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
9:15.
Okay. So she got home, you went down. How long did you...
When she came home, she changed.
Yeah.
And then that's
see...
when I know she came home, when she went up to change. And she went back downstairs, and I went down to say hi, grab a glass of water, I believe, and went back up to my room.
Okay. And then you were back on the phone with Ed. When you heard what?
I'm not calling it my dad.
Okay. When you went down to see your mom, what did you talk about?
Nothing, I just said hi. She was watching her tiny shows, I just left her alone.
Okay. And what else did you do while you were downstairs?
She went to go get a glass of water and then went back up.
While you're downstairs, at any time do you make sure that the house is secure?
That's usually the person who goes to bed last.
Okay. Just in our house, anytime anybody's going to bed, they usually, each one of us end up doing it in case somebody else forgets. So did you check the front door at all?
No.
No? Back door, side doors? Okay. If you were the one to go to bed last, what doors would you check?
Back door and front door.
Okay, what would you do?
Make sure that they're locked.
Okay. And if they weren't locked?
Lock them.
Locked. Okay. And the back door, how do you guys secure that?
Lock and then pull and close.
Okay. Is that a slider?
Yeah.
Do you guys put a piece of wood in there at all? No. So you just make sure it's locked. Okay. And so who would be the person that mostly does that then?
My mother.
Okay. Is it typical that if she's coming in late that she would lock it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, meaning if it's already dark outside, would she lock the door as soon as she comes in? You know, as opposed to being in the middle of the day and you just...
I think I'm pretty sure. I don't know 100% sure.
Like, that's to say you came in and it was already dark outside.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do?
No, I'd lock the door behind me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because you don't intend on going out again. It's just common practice. Okay. Were you injured at all during the whole process?
Not really.
Okay. Not really anything? No. Okay. When they tied your hands, what kind of style did they tie them?
I'm not sure.
And when they tied you to the banister, how did they do that?
One of them was holding me, the other one was tying, I think.
Okay. And how did they tie?
I don't know. They maybe kept looking down.
Okay.
And then looked.
Yeah. But what could you feel?
And it felt like a tight and then like another tight.
Where did it feel tight?
In my upper arm.
Okay. So what was around your upper arm?
Back leg.
Okay. And what was around, how else were you tied?
And on my wrist.
Were your wrists tied to the banister?
No.
How do you know?
Because they tied my wrist first and then they tied my arms together.
You mentioned on the tape that you were getting loose. What did you mean by that?
My upper arm was falling. The string was falling.
Okay, where did it fall to?
It's short distance.
Okay, and how did you get it to do that?
I don't remember. I was just wiggling and trying to get out.
Okay. And where did that string end up when the police got there?
They cut it up.
Okay. What's that?
I don't want to go through this.
Okay. Well, details are important because it shows us what they did, right? And we need to get that. The one thing I do want to go over is the description of the gentleman that you said, you called him number one. Can you tell me that again? The first person that you dealt with, or that, can you help me with that?
There's not slightly shorter than me in the road.
You're going to have to speak up, I can't hear you. Slightly shorter than, sorry?
Just slightly shorter than me.
Yep. Which is what?
Maybe 5'6".
Yep. What kind of build?
Medium build.
And what type of face?
Round face.
Okay. Age?
Late 20s, early 30s.
Okay. And then there was another gentleman that you called number two previously. How would you describe him?
Blonder. He's skinny. With a hoodie on and had his face covered.
Okay. Was his face covered the whole time?
Yeah, I think.
With what?
Bandana.
Okay.
Cloth.
Okay. And
It's hard to look at all.
okay, I appreciate that. And the third person.
I didn't see him very well.
Okay. Well, you did see some of them.
Yeah, it's taller.
And what color?
It's blue black. It's all dark, so.
Okay.
But he had a Caribbean accent.
Okay. And how do you know it was Caribbean?
It sounded like right here on TV and people around.
What about voices for the other two? Number one.
No accent.
And what about neither of them had an accent, or?
Number two didn't speak very much, so I'm not sure.
When he did speak.
Just one syllable.
Okay, and what were those syllables?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And what else did you hear from him?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you need anything to drink at all? Okay. You realize that it's important, though? Okay. All right. Obviously, everything is so important that night that it's probably the most important night of your life. And I know it's tough to keep going over, but it's important. Okay? I'm just going to step out for a second, okay? Did you need anything? No?
Such a clear behavioral pattern. She hides. You can hardly hear her. She makes little cry sounds and sighs. She pauses. She avoids. I didn't include the footage, but so you know, when he leaves the room, she remains as she is.
Okay, sorry about that. All right. The money that they took from you, how much was that again?
2,000 of mine in, I don't US, I believe. I heard my mom say this, like maybe 1,100, but I don't know.
Okay, so approx of your own 2,000. Okay, and what kind of denominations was that?
It was a 50, 20.
Okay, and if you had it in a stack, how big would that stack be?
Watch when she answers this. She grabs her hair and fiddles with it continuously.
Okay, and where did you keep that?
And in my night table underneath the TV.
Okay, and how long had you kept it there?
Maybe 6 months.
Okay, and before that 6 months
It was in my other bedside table,
Okay, which is where?
not the bedside table.
Why did you switch it up?
Because that one got full.
Okay, so you moved it over. Did you ever any other money in your room in any other places?
A few 20s in my wallet.
Okay, did they get that?
I believe they did.
Okay, did you give it to them?
They pointed it at when we found my purse.
Okay, and what did they do with that?
I don't know.
Okay. You saw him take it or not? Okay, and you haven't been back to check since?
I can't believe it. I didn't go in the house.
Okay, gotcha. And where did that money come from?
Some of it I just recently withdrew, and others from money I saved up from certain.
Okay. How much did you withdraw?
500 twice, but it was to pay back my mom for recent vacation we went on.
Okay. So how much did you owe her?
500.
Okay. And when did you take that 500 out?
Recently, the day before, I think.
Okay. And the other 500?
Early on in the week.
Okay.
Maybe like 2 weeks.
And where did you get that from?
I'm sorry.
Where did that come from?
In my bank.
And where's your bank?
I don't remember the other withdrawal, but my one withdrawal was at my most recent withdrawal was at Warden, and I don't remember where I withdrew the other one from.
Okay. But you went through a teller or did you go through a cash machine?
Machine.
Okay, for both or just one?
I'm pretty sure for both.
Okay. And how much did you take out each time?
500.
Is that your maximum that you can take out on the machine? Okay. How much do you have in your account?
Maybe over 1,000.
Okay. And where did that come from?
My mom.
Your mom? And when did she give it to you?
She gives me these checks.
Okay.
She works and she puts it under my name.
She works where?
I don't know what that's basically because it's packaging company.
Okay. And that's on the side or?
Yeah.
Okay. And she puts it in your name and you have to give her the money back then?
Yeah. She keeps a tab and
Okay.
every time I withdraw I give it to her.
Okay. And how come you hadn't withdrawn or how come you hadn't given it to her yet?
She hadn't asked for it yet. She's like, just give it a few days and then...
But she knew you withdrew it?
No, she's like, I will be withdrawing soon.
Okay. She didn't know you already took it out. So why would you not just give it to her then? Why would you withdraw it and not give it to her?
I don't know. It's just, I'd only give it to her because then she forgets to write it in her book.
Alright, so how often does she give you, she has a check made out to you, do you put the deposit in or?
Yeah.
Okay, how often does she make a deposit in your account?
Once a week.
Okay, for 500 or what's the amount?
Random amounts, like 200, 300.
Okay. And they come from a packaging company? And where's that?
Warden in 14th area.
And does she report there every day or?
No, just whenever they need her, they'll call in.
Okay.
I wish we could clearly see her expressions, but what we can see coming up is how her fiddling with her hair changes. Remember in a previous interview it was hand wringing? Well, here she'll get to a point where she's wringing her hair.
The reason why I'm here today, okay, is that I'm an expert, okay, in what we call truth verification. Okay, I'm not a homicide detective. Okay, although I work on a lot of homicides. Okay, so my job in any case, and anybody that's a witness in this case, I have to speak to. Okay, after they've been interviewed originally by anybody else. Okay, and so what it's about is truth verification. Okay, so basically all my studies come into interviewing and detecting deception, determine if somebody's telling the police the truth, okay? Because every investigation that we run that's a homicide, we run a parallel investigation, okay? And when I talk about a parallel investigation, what I mean by that is obviously the detectives that are assigned to the case, okay, are trying to determine who's responsible for the home invasion, who's responsible for what happened there, okay? That's their job, okay? My job is to determine whether everything somebody has told us as a witness or as a reporting party is actually the truth. Okay? Now, in my experience as a police officer, no matter what the case is, okay, for some reason or another, people make mistakes in that they don't always tell the truth. Okay? They may tell some of the truth, but they don't always tell all of the truth. Do you know what I mean? Okay? And I know in your life you've already had occasions where you're well aware of what half truths mean, right? What do they mean?
You don't fully.
Yeah. So when we're talking about truth, we're not just talking about a person saying something that's not true, right? That's one way of not telling the truth, simply by making something up, right? Do you agree? Okay. But also withholding information is not telling the truth, okay? It's purposeful deception, really, right? Okay. They're leaving stuff out that may assist the investigation, okay? That may lead to the people that are responsible for being caught, right? And that's where we talked earlier about, so some people obstruct the investigation, okay? Because they provide facts that are totally not true, okay? Other things they tell about the case obviously did happen. So what we talk about is a combination of people telling things that are totally not true, leaving information out would be two ways that people haven't been truthful. Okay. So how do I make my conclusions? Okay. So some of the ways is obviously I count on my experience, right? I talk to thousands of people, okay? And I basically know when somebody's not being straightforward with me, okay? I can tell by the language they use, how they answer the questions, their body language, how they treat the question, that something's wrong here. Okay, this doesn't make sense. Okay. The other thing is an understanding of what common sense is. Okay. Could this have happened that way? By what the person's telling me, could have it even happened like that? Okay. Is it realistic? Is it plausible? Okay. So basically we're trained in statement analysis. Okay. So what I did with your statement is I wrote it all out. Every word that you said. Okay, just like everybody else that gave a statement. Every noun, pronoun, verb, everything. Okay? And people are trained to speak in a certain language. Okay? And when they are not being truthful, that shows up in their language. They don't even know they're doing it. Okay? But when we analyze the statement itself, we know whether they're being truthful or not truthful. Okay? And these days we even have software that assists us in that. Okay? We're in the modern ages, right? Okay, so we have computer programs. And one of the ones that we utilize in these cases is an analysis program called Event Probability Analysis. Okay? And what we do is we feed everything into the computer. Basically, the computer, I type it out, and we feed it in, and you scan it in, actually, and it takes a copy of everything that's been said. And it analyzes what a person has said. Okay? And based on what they say, it will tell us where the areas of deception are, okay, when something's missing that they're not telling us, okay, areas of concern, and areas that are flat out not truthful, okay, and areas that you come back with a result that says not plausible, okay, because what it is this software analyzes, it's being entered by all police forces. It has data from thousands of cases, right? So if it gets information that's totally never happened before in any other case, right? That tells you something, right? Because human beings, there's only so many ways to do something, okay? And people follow patterns, okay? And when things go outside of a normal pattern, that's a red flag, right? Do you agree? When things don't add up. So that's another thing that we look into. Of course, I have to go over all the forensics of a case, okay? Because that's evidence, okay? And you're already aware of how many days the police were at your house, right? What's that?
About.
Yeah. days on days on days. And when they were there, okay, they're not just there taking a couple pictures or anything, okay? They're going over that house with a fine-tooth comb, okay? They're going over every hair fiber, every skin cell, every bit of blood, because essentially, you know what DNA is, right? Basically, a person cannot go in or out of anywhere without leaving a part of themselves behind, right?
As nervous as she's been, she was listening intently as he gave her information. You can see the moment she realizes it's worse than she thought. When he brings up DNA, after having said they're going to go over every skin cell, her head drops.
You understand that? Do you watch CSI at all?
A little bit.
Little bit. But it tells you that it would be like if you and I walked out of this room right now, right? And we brought in our forensics experts, right? And what they would do is they would collect any hair, any fibers, any skin cells, any DNA that was in this room, okay? And what they could do with that is simply say, at the end of the day, they would say, you know what? Jennifer Pam was in that room and Bill Gates was in that room, okay? It's conclusive that we can't go in and out without leaving parts of ourselves behind. You understand that, right? Okay. So obviously the forensic in this case will tell us a lot of information. Okay? Who was in what room? Who wasn't in what room? Okay? What you have to remember is what is there and what is not there are just as important. Okay? So if somebody was said to be in a certain room and our experts went through there and there were no fibers from that person, what would that tell you? Yeah, they weren't there. In my work, I'm looking for what's there, but also what's not there is just as important. And you know what? A lot of times it's even more important. Okay? Because it goes to verifying what the witnesses have told me. Okay? Or what they haven't told me. Both. Right? Okay, so that's another thing that, of course, that's done at every scene. Okay? The other thing that we do is obviously we talk to a lot of people, and you already know we've done that because we've talked to a lot of your friends and people that you know, right? So you're well aware that we don't leave any rock unturned, okay? And so we go out and do that. You already know that we've contacted these people because that's part of what we do in every investigation. Okay, every interview is important. Every person that may have any knowledge at all is important, right? We also talk to people that have talked to the witnesses, okay? So if we've interviewed you, for instance, and then we go and interview that person that's talked to you, they will tell us what you said, okay? And if there's odd things in what you've told them or they don't make sense, of course, we find that out because they tell us, right? And so that's another way we can determine if somebody's being truthful. You tell someone else something different than what they told us ourselves, or something that's in conflict with that, right?
I know it sounds like he's telling her things that are obvious, but what he's doing is not really giving her information on how an investigation works. He's really giving her the message that we know more than you think. We're going to find out, and give her the sense the situation is hopeless. Once that is established, one by one, he'll cut off every escape for her, except for one.
So that's another thing that we do. The other thing we do is we have to reach out to what we call modern technology, okay? So there's some of the things that we utilize is satellite, okay? Now, do you know what satellite can do? Okay, do you watch any of these when these war programs on TV where they do bombings and stuff? Have you ever seen any of that? Or when the Iraq war was on, you ever see any of the news clips where you can see the satellite honing in on buildings? Okay, so we can go back and obtain satellite information, okay? And essentially the satellite's a 24-hour video that's going on, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? It's recording information, okay? And that's how the military uses it in, for precision bombing and everything else, because They're able to find out where bombs are inside buildings and hone in on that through satellites and heat-seeking apparatuses that tell you what's going on inside, right? Okay, so we're able to go back and review that. Okay, and so we would have to obtain that data for a specific address, get it for the dates and time that we're concerned with. Okay, and basically, if people are moving around in a house,
watch her become very still for a few seconds. He has her. She's listening intently, and the message is hitting the mark.
It's like an X-ray, okay? And basically, we're able to tell, are those movements, are those actions, that number of people consistent with the story that we've been told? Are the people in the positions that the witnesses are telling us they were in? Or are they different? Okay, and if they're different, why are they different is what our question becomes, right? So that's another thing that we do.
He can't say God is watching and we're going to talk to him. A satellite with infrared is just as good in this circumstance. That would feel like godlike, this all-seeing thing.
Obviously, just to go back to forensics for a minute, what we're doing is stuff like, in this case, that doorknob's very important, that door lock, okay? And so we're looking for who was the last one that actually touched that doorknob, or door lock, right? Okay. Did somebody lock it last, or did somebody unlock it? Okay, so we would see, you would get like fingerprints of one person locking and then overlap by the person that unlocked it, that type of thing. Again, it would just be information that would go to determine what happened on in that house, right? And from there. The other thing, of course, in any case, you know about Crime Stoppers, right? You heard of Crime Stoppers before?
Yeah, Colin.
Yeah, okay. When you get a case like this, okay, people want to help, okay? It's in the papers, it's everywhere, okay? So people actually end up coming to us to help us out with the case, okay? Now, in a case like this, we're actually very fortunate because the more people that are involved in a crime, the more information we always get.
That's true. A Crown attorney once remarked to me how it is remarkable and almost comical how criminals still haven't figured out that if you're going to crime, you should never have an accomplice. So many offenders swear that their friend or partner would never tell on them. And then they're shocked when they do. If you're dealing with someone willing to commit crime, why would anyone think that they would not roll on you to save their own butt?
If a person goes out and commits a crime themselves, who knows about it? Just themselves for sure, and maybe anybody they tell, right? In a case where they actually is multiple people involved, so in this case, 3 people inside the house and a number of other people involved on the peripheral, right? Each of them knows. Okay, so now we're getting into a higher number of people knowing what happened. And you know what? Somebody always tells somebody else. Okay? And so that doubles the number of people that know. Okay? And then over drinks and everything else, that person tells another person. And before we know it, a ton of people actually know what happened that night. Okay? And suddenly we get people calling in because you know why? They want to help. Okay? There's other people that just want the money. They know what happened, they've heard about it, they've heard it through a friend. In all the years that I've been policing, you don't know how many people actually call in on their own friends. It happens all the time. Okay? Because they want that money. Okay? They get greedy. So we get calls all the time from people that are involved. We also get people that are actually involved in the crime telling about other people that were involved in the crime. And they're actually going to collect money on a case that they were involved in. You hear what I'm saying?
You hear what I'm saying? Everyone who you thought were on your side are gonna tell. There's an all-seeing technology in the sky that we have access to. We're looking at everything right down to a cellular level. Everybody is watching. Everybody is talking. You're alone. You're at risk. What are you going to do? He'll eventually offer her some relief. Let's keep going.
And so at the end of the day, there's so many resources available to me that at the end of the day, I'm going to know if a person's telling me the truth or not. Okay? Whether they, and it may not be to me because I'm analyzing also every statement they made to the police. And the other things that we do is obviously we get forensic sciences and profiling people involved to determine the events of these things. I can tell you that nothing surprises me in this job.
This right here. Whether you're a witness, a suspect, or a survivor, we've heard everything. Often people are afraid or embarrassed to tell all of what really happened. When you go through something, or if you did something stupid, it may be your first encounter with such a thing. But the police and lawyers have seen and heard things that would make your hair stand on end.
I am well aware that anybody on this earth is capable of making a mistake, okay? I don't care who they are. I don't care if they're a priest. I don't care if they're a school teacher. I don't care what the situation is. Given a certain set of circumstances, everyone has the capability, Jennifer, of making a mistake.
I want to say two things here. One is to point out how he's framing it as a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes, ergo you're not a monster. The other thing is that it is everybody. I remember when I learned that everybody is capable of posing a threat. Think about an 80-year-old grandma. Never committed a crime, no history of violence, helps her community. Nice grandma. Doesn't seem like a threat, right? But you try and hurt her grandbaby, and if she has any kind of means, she's going to pose a terrible threat to that perpetrator. And you've seen people make the mistake of thinking that because somebody is a lawyer or a police officer or a doctor or whatever, they have good social standing, therefore they must be a safe person. You know how that goes.
Doing the wrong thing. The key, though, when I talk to people is when they made a mistake, okay, that's one thing, right? The key is to not keep making the same mistake, okay? And to get that information out and get it off their chest, okay? You understand what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, from this case, and I can tell you I've spent literally a week on this case going over information after information, accessing all these sources, speaking to every other expert on the case. And at this point, Jennifer, I know that you've not been truthful with the police, okay? You've not told us everything that you know, purposely.
The pressure is up, and he has introduced a path by which she can get relief. He will cut off every other path except for this one. The other thing he did was lean forward. He has let her sit there while he poured this information out, and he has allowed her to be in her own head a little bit. But now he wants to confront. He wants her full attention to make her face the situation. The lean forward here is intentional.
And that you've left information out. There's a number of inconsistencies in what you've told the police. One of the things you have to remember is that your dad was there. And your dad had a front row seat to all of this. And your dad's a very smart man. And he has a very clear perception of what's going on. And he tells a very truthful story, because I've gone through this whole process with him. Okay, I've had to do the same thing. And I know he's being truthful. The problem is that your story, what you're telling, is not truthful. Okay? And we have to clear this up. Okay? Your rendition of what happened, one, a lot of events you say that happened never did. A lot of things that you told the police happened never happened. They never happened in the sequence that you've told. You've got to remember that your dad was there. That's just one part of it. There's lots of other things that tell me that you've not been truthful. All this analysis that I've been doing. But on top of it, that yours doesn't match at all, except for very few factors that you've told truth, but you haven't told all the truth. We're getting into where, You spent a considerable amount of time in the last 7 years telling half-truths, okay? And I can understand why, okay? You've had a tough life. What's happened to you, to me, equates to abuse. And all the stresses that you've had and forced to lie, I can understand why you did it.
Pressure. We know you're not a monster. Offer justification. I'm on your side. There's a way out.
But you're in another situation here where you're under another tremendous amount of stress. And that stress is brought on by those same factors that brought on stress before. Okay, the number one thing that brings on stress to you is when you're not truthful. Right? That hurts you, right? And it doesn't feel good inside, does it? It breaks down the person that you are. Because at the end of the day, you're a good person. I know that. You've got a good heart. In this case, though, you've made mistakes. And you're involved in this. I know that. Okay? There's no question about it. The only question right now is, are you going to keep making mistakes? Are you going to go on the route that you've gone on over the years and try to pretend that things happen that never happened? Okay? Are you going to not face reality here? You were not truthful to the police in this case. We know that you're involved. We've done our homework. We have to resolve that now, here today.
We have to resolve that here today. In previous interviews, she knew if she held out long enough, she would get to go home. But things are different this time. He's letting her know that's not going to work. The path she had used previously is now cut off.
I need to know from you what really happened. And I mean, who else is involved in this? Because there's no doubt, Jennifer, that you are. Okay, we know that. We're past that. There's no question about it at all. And I know why this has happened. You have spent your whole life trying to live up to expectations that you can't meet, okay? And that stress the hell out of you. You're a 24-year-old woman being treated like a 15-year-old. You've never done anything that terrible in your life, but you're being treated like you have. You're not being treated like the adult that you are. Yes, you made some mistakes. Big deal. You're not the first person that has gone out and not told their parents that they're dating a guy, because in your culture, they don't accept it. I understand it. I've talked to people in here that have kept that secret for their whole life from their parents. Okay, so that's not abnormal, but that puts a lot of stress on you, right? That's not easy for you, is it? No. Now, what we need to get down to here today, Jen, is what really happened. You need to tell me what went on, because you know who was in that house that night. You do, Jen. There's no question about that, okay? There's no question about it. You have actually given an improper description of the person you were dealing with upstairs. Number one, you falsified the whole description of that person. We know that, okay? We know that. Yes, you did, Jen, okay? You did. You've made a mistake here, and we've got to get to the bottom of that. That person did not exist in that house that night. I know that. Okay, we've done our homework. You heard on the news that there was video, right? Okay? It wasn't 3 black guys that left that house. You know that, and I know that. So we need to get down to why you have purposely told us a false description of number one. Okay? No, Jen. It's totally wrong. And it was done on purpose to mislead us, because you're involved in this. Okay? You cannot deny that. Okay? You cannot deny that. We know now. So let's just get it out on the table. You've made a mistake. I know that. But you can't live with this any longer than this. You're a bloody nervous wreck over this thing. This thing, if you could take it back, I know that you would. If you could go back to that day and play this all over again, it would be different. Okay? But you need to right now know that we know that you're involved. There's no question about that. None whatsoever. But what we also know is that you're a good person, okay, that's made a mistake here, right? You've made some bad decisions, okay? And it's, you know, how you made the bad decisions, that not talking, telling your parents what's up. You don't want to do that with us, okay? You don't want to do that with the police, do you?
Yeah, but
You don't want to mislead me, do you?
no.
Okay, so let's not do that. You made a mistake that night. You got involved with the wrong people. You got involved in the wrong set of circumstances. But that's over with now. We're past that. Okay, we know that that happened. But you know what? In all my years of policing, it doesn't matter what goes wrong with people, it's never too late to do the right thing. You know that, and I know that. And what you can do here today is actually do the right thing. You have to do the right thing. You can't go around continuing this, okay? Remember when you said what it did to you when you went through those years of depression? That was brought on by not being truthful. Living a lie. You don't want to keep living this lie, okay? Everybody knows, okay? You know, and you're getting the feeling from everybody around you that they know, okay? Nobody is surprised.
You're getting the feeling everybody knows. He knows that's true because he recognized cues from witnesses, but also because he put those thoughts in her head. The satellites were turning over every stone, video, statement analysis, forensics, Crime Stoppers calls. What you've seen previously in these interviews has laid the foundation for this moment.
Okay, there's nobody surprised here. After what you've been through, I'm surprised this didn't happen a lot earlier, truthfully. Okay, you're 24 years old, and you were a prisoner in your own house. You had lost your own identity. There was no Jennifer anymore. Okay, you were living for what somebody else wanted. You weren't you. You were what somebody else wanted. You were living someone else's expectations. And yes, family is important, but when family takes over you as a human being, when they take your identity, there is no more Jen. So no matter how good their intentions are, no matter how much they love you, they're taking away Jen. And you have gone through this for years in the middle of tension. Tension that got to the point that it makes you sick. Your stomach churns over it. You don't wake up a day that there's not some issue on the table, not some stress in your household. Essentially, you've been told to live up to expectations you yourself years ago knew that you could not do. They're taking away Jen. There is no Jen. They took Jen away. The Jen that just wants to be a piano teacher. Why isn't that good enough? Why was that not good enough? That was great expectations. Why not just be a lab technician? Why the doctor? Why does it always have to be something bigger? Why can't it just be what you want? And all that has resulted in what's happened on November 8th. The tension built up to a point that, you know what? It's like an animal that gets cornered. At some point, the nicest dog, when it's cornered, bites back, okay? It's called self-preservation. And in your case, all that's happened here is self-preservation. 18 months ago, Jen, you chose your family over Daniel. But you gave up Jen in the process. You gave up yourself to this whole thing. There was no Jen anymore. The Jen that just wanted to teach piano, that wasn't good enough. The Jen that just wants a normal 9-to-5 job, that's not good enough.
He's bringing up grievances because it both plays to justification and it makes her feel understood. I know that in the movies you hear or you see detectives yell and slam the table, but that's not how it goes. I knew a detective who used to carry around a pack of smokes. He didn't smoke, but he knew he could get more information out of people by hanging out with them while they had a smoke or having a cup of coffee with them than he could with a hard interrogation tactic.
And Jen was in a state of depression, backed into a corner. And what it came down to is one thing: self-preservation. Self-preservation overrules anything in life. At the end of the day, it's like your life is being choked out of you. That's what's been happening for the last 7 years. And basically, the grip on your throat, on your life, has shrunk and tightened up to a point where either you do something about it or it's the end of Jen. And you diminish to a point where the only thing you can do is fight back for once. And that's what's happened here, Jen. We know that. We know that. And I'm surprised it took this long. A 24-year-old young woman being treated as a prisoner in her own home. I can't imagine. Like, the rules that they have are for 12-year-olds, not for somebody twice that age. Yes, their intentions might have been good, but they're not realistic. They're not, Dan, were they? Jen? Their expectations weren't realistic, were they? You couldn't live up to them, could you? You tried to, right? Am I right? And finally you had to bite back, right? You had no other choice. You felt like you had no other options. You thought of everything else, including killing yourself, to make this change, right? Right? I'm right, aren't I, Jen? Right? It's okay. We understand. Let's talk about it. Let's get it out in the open, Jen. That's all this is, about understanding. We know that you were involved. We know what you did. But you can't live like this.
You can't live like this. The pressure, how horrible you feel, is not going away, right? There's no relief. This pain is going to go on and on. Let me offer you some relief. Let me show you the path out. The only path out.
You got to get it off your chest. You've been so stressed out from the moment this happened. You knew that it was going to happen that night, before it happened. And why you froze on your bed there is because reality had set in. The plan was in motion. There was no turning back. And I know right now you wish you could turn it back, right? You wish you could go back before that night and stop this, right? Right, Jen? Right? What happened? What happened?
But it happened.
Okay, it happened, yes. The guys came in. Okay, but you were involved. That's what the difference is here. Okay? Right? A lot of what you said happened, but a lot of it that you said didn't happen. Okay?
Something I said happened though.
Okay? But it's what you're not saying that's important here. You were part of setting this plan in motion. Right? You were behind this. Right? You have to get it off your chest, and it's killing you. Get it off your chest, and we're going to talk it out here. We're going to understand, and we're going to get this pressure off you, because that's what you need right now. Do the right thing now, Jen. We already know. You're not going to surprise me here. Okay, I already know what the answer is. I can't stand to see you go through this any longer. You've been a physical wreck because you know that you haven't been truthful with us. A lot of things that you said are true, but there's so many more that aren't, and you're leaving so much information out. We know that. You have to sit there and ask yourself, yes, he knows. Bill knows. Everyone knows. But what you have to do now is get the strength in you to tell us why it happened. I have some pretty good reasons there why it happened. To me, it was a form of abuse here, because you can't do that to a person. You can't. This is Canada. We're in the 21st century here. You cannot take everything out of a person. You can have expectations for your kids, but you can't expect them to do everything the way you want it. Okay? It's just like your dad said about fixing everybody else's home, but not fixing his own. Okay? It's the same with you. Okay? He was trying to make a future for you bigger than it should have been. And in the process of his love for you, he made the mistake of actually pushing you away. All his good intentions, what happened?
He hit the mark right here. You can see it in her body language. That's it for now. Stay safe. See you in the comments.